Oh, there's Davida. Hi, guys. Okay. Hey, Carolyn, how are you? Hi,
I'm doing
Davida.
well. Hey.
How are you, Davida?
Oh, well, thanks. How are you today?
I'm good. I see you got a nice cup of something warm there.
Hmm?
I see you got a nice cup of something warm there.
I do. I'm eating a slice of cheesecake and a cup of tea.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love it. So is New York cheesecake as good as, I don't know, they say?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. My husband got me a cheesecake for my birthday. And I was asking him, I'm like, where did you get this from? It is so good. Like, it's really, I'm enjoying it.
Awesome.
Enjoying it.
Awesome. Well, Carolyn is our first guest here tonight, and we have Danielle on camera, but Danielle, you don't actually have to be here for another hour, so you can just kind of turn your camera off and relax. So, Carolyn, I am so excited to have you here. You hail from like way up north. At least that's how it feels to me. I'm an American. Um, Maybe I should actually give you guys a little bit of background because like I live here in Edmonton. I've lived in Canada for like 20 years, but like I was born and raised like in Maryland, which for Canadians who don't know, they always think Maryland is Maine. It's not. Maryland is like right by Washington, D.C. So I grew up immersed in politics. And yeah, but also kind of a redneck. I grew up literally in a town called Boonesboro, in the Appalachian Mountains, named after Daniel Boone. I grew up on Antietam Creek. So like we would find relics from the Civil War. We drove over South Mountain where Battle of South Mountain was fought. We were upstream from Antietam battlefield. We would find arrowheads from the indigenous people who lived there. before us. And anyway, when I was a teenager, we moved around. So we lived in South Dakota for a year, and then we lived in Mississippi for a year. And I graduated from high school in Tennessee, and then I spent summer in Montana, and I came to Canada for a school year. Thought it was way too cold. Funny enough, I came to Red Deer, Lacombe area, and was like, there is no freaking way I will ever come back to Alberta. And yeah, went down to California because I was like, it's warm and sunny in California. Yeah, married a Canadian and came up here, and I have been here ever since, and I love Canada.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, I really, really love doing this virtual part of the show because I get to pull together my American roots, but also like introduce Canadians to Americans, but introduce Americans to Canadians, like, just kind of pull it all together. And yeah, I think like when Carolyn and I started talking, one of the things I loved about what she does is that like everything, and I don't know a lot about what Carolyn does, so I'm really curious. Any questions that I ask this evening will be totally out of curiosity, but a lot of what she does is about mindfulness. And I think that that is like so relevant. I think that's why a lot of people have picked up fiber arts through the pandemic, is because of our desperate need for mindfulness, especially during these times. I think since 2016, there's been so much, I think, desperate need for mindfulness. We've, as Brene Brown says so well, we've become untethered. But especially during these times in the pandemic, I think we desperately need that mindfulness. And fiber arts is such a great way to really ground ourselves into mindfulness. And so, Carolyn, I'm just really, really grateful to have you here. And I would love for you to just tell us like what you do and who you are. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I know we've talked a little bit via email, but I'm really excited. I guess for someone to get into the place of talking about mindfulness and wellness, you have to go through a few places to get to that point. And so it's been a road that I've traveled and been working through and learning how to process it all. Because I find for myself, instead of dragging so much of life with me all the time, there's got to be a point where you got to work through it and deal with it so that you can move on, and then you can, I don't know, become more of who you were meant to be. And I found through the creative process how important that is. So for me, it was definitely fiber, as you can kind of see behind and this is just a sliver of what I have, but oops, sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I've been on quite the journey. I guess maybe I'll just share a little bit about that, I guess. I'm like, my business is called Living Skies Fibre Studio. And so I've been around for a while. So I guess I started out by, I think you talked about this the other night, Holly, about, or maybe it was one of the other guests, talked about selling things at craft fairs and that type of thing. And I was going through some health issues, and I wasn't very mobile, but I had use of my hands. So I felt like I needed to do something productive. And so I'd been taught to knit as a child, but it seemed that everything that when I would go, mostly it was our local Zellers at the time. I'm dating myself maybe a little there. So local Zellers, I would go going, what do I want to make? And everything I wanted to make was like these really, awesome crocheted blankets. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to teach myself how to crochet. So then that's when I just started down my journey of crocheting and making things. And I gave so much away. And then I as I started making things, I was like, I don't really like any of these patterns. I always found flaws, or I'm like, oh, there's an easier way to do this. What about this texture? And so then I just started designing my own patterns and then selling them at markets. And remember my hands being so sore from making so many things. And I was getting tons of orders, and I was like, okay, I can't keep up with this. So I'm just going to sell patterns. So I actually looked up the date today. So I released my first pattern on Ravelry in January of 2014. So, so I've been around for a little while on this journey. And yeah, I did tons of stuff with the crocheting, design for magazines and yarn subscription boxes. And they used to have a thing about the crochet awards, and my patterns were nominated for a few awards. And they had another thing called, what was it called? I think it was Design Wars, where a couple of different designers would create patterns, and we compete, and people would vote on Facebook. And that was great, because at one point we were being sponsored. And so I would just get like boxes of yarn delivered to my house. And it was really fantastic, because then, like, as things started taking off, I was actually making a pretty good income. And I was able to, like, I remember going to the grocery store and buying groceries. I'm like, this is with like the money I made from my patterns. And I literally like started crying while I was in the grocery store going, oh my goodness, people like my things enough that I have enough to like buy a cart of groceries. And so it was really exciting to see how things were evolving, and yeah, being asked to design stuff and people just sending me yarn. I'm like, oh my goodness, can't get better. And then I picked my daughter up after school one day, and we were heading over to Michael's to look for some crafting supplies that she needed for an assignment. And we were hit by a drunk driver. And we were at a red light. And so he hit us so hard that I hit two vehicles in front of me. So it was a pretty big hit from behind. And so, of course, like my head hit the steering wheel, and then the seat behind me and rattled. And I got a really bad concussion, and I had a lot of damage to my left arm. And I couldn't crochet because when you're crocheting, you're pulling from the left and all that kind of stuff. And I couldn't do it. I had no use of my left arm for months. And the concussion just made it so that I couldn't even think to like work through a pattern or to do anything. And it was horrible, because it was, well, I felt like crocheting fiber arts at that time defined who I was. And so that was a really difficult time for me, because I was just like, okay, what am I going to do now? Like, this is everything. So then I ended up going back to work and getting a job, because I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do an income through this anymore, because I was in pain for such a long time. And it's continued with that. I still deal with a lot of pain, but I'm finding different ways to work through it. And I've tried different things. I actually tried yarn dyeing at once. A few years later, I was just like, oh, you never find the colors that you want. So I'm like, I'm going to start dyeing, but it was way too painful. I did the bigger Fibre fair in Saskatchewan. And after that, then, well, that's right around when COVID was hitting, and I sold so much yarn online. Like, everybody was ordering yarn. I was shipping all around the world. Like, it was absolutely incredible, but I just physically couldn't do it. So it seemed like I kept making steps forward and starting to create again, but I just found like crocheting it just hurts a lot. And I actually was listening to the interview the other day with the Furls crochet hooks. I'm like, I wonder if those would make a difference. So I don't know. Because I've been wanting to revisit some of my patterns, and because I look back at some of my beginning patterns and I'm like, I'm way better at photography now. Those are really good patterns, but the pictures just don't do it justice. So I'm like, I want to remake some of those and, work through the patterns again and that type of thing. And I'm just like, but it's just not working. I think I'm going to have to check out the Furls crochet and see see what kind of difference that might make, because I would certainly like to get into that again. But through all of that and through different jobs that I've had and different things, I am well, maybe Holly, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, is that you just do so much. I've been event planner in my jobs in the past, and I know how much one of the works these events are. I want to thank both of you for hosting these every night. Like, that is so much. Like, you're giving so much to this Fibre Frolic. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're giving up time with your families and just so much that you're giving to this Fibre Frolic. Us fiber artisans are very thankful that you do this for us. I am beyond excited to come to Edmonton a little bit. I'm from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. We talked a little bit about that. I think I'm a little bit more north than Edmonton, but not much. So, but I'm originally from Ontario, southwestern Ontario. So this is, yeah, it's cold, but I've been out here. I married a Saskatchewan boy, so I have now been out here for 24 years. So I'm getting accustomed to it now. But we have snow, and there's a snowstorm again right now. So yes, the winters are long, but everyone, my family in Ontario always says, how do you deal with it? And I'm like, well, you just enjoy summer immensely. You make the most of every opportunity you can in the summer just to make the best of it. And then summer and winters, you get outside when you can, when it's not -40. So, so I've had a bunch of, I guess, back to my journey through this, I've had a bunch of ups and downs through various things, especially in my creative process. I've always tried to understand. I always look at things and I'm like, okay, this situation, instead of looking at it as this is a bad thing or a good thing that's happened to me, I more like to look at it as how can I learn from this process? Or, what can I learn from this process? What is this trying to tell me right now? And I spent a lot of time journaling. And so when I wasn't able to use my arms as much for the creative process with yarn, I started doing a lot of journaling. And I actually taught a few journaling workshops and this type of thing, because I'm not a person who can journal every day. I would love to be one of those people, but I just don't have the dedication to it. So I actually created a journal that asks me questions, and I just have to sit down once a week and I work through the questions, and I just ask myself the same things each week, and you become a lot more mindful because you start thinking about these questions during the week. And there's one page that's just all gratitude, where you just write things that you're grateful for. And so sometimes I'll grab my journal during the week. Usually Saturday mornings are when I sit down to work through my journal. But and then I ask myself a lot of hard questions, but sometimes I write the gratitude things throughout the week. But it makes me look at my everyday differently. So one of my daughters had a hard time in school growing up, and I was reading a parenting book, and one of the things that they said was, at the end of the day, when you're tucking your kids in, ask them what their favorite thing of the day was. Because I know when I was tucking her in, a lot of times she'd be saying, oh, this happened at school and I feel horrible about this. And it was always, she was always focusing on the negative. And so then at the end of the day, I would ask, what was your favorite part of today? And then if they're thinking about their favorite part of their day, they actually go to bed in a better frame of mind, and then they wake up and with a better attitude for the next day, because you're staying more on the positive side of things. And so that's something that I've tried to do, I guess, through my journaling, and try to look at things going, I may not be able to create with Fibre right now, but there's other things that I can do, and how I can be creative and all these type of things. And I've just been given so many opportunities. I don't know what it is. I love teaching, and whenever somebody needs something, it's just like, well, we'll call Carolyn. I'm sure she can teach us something. And so I have really been involved. Our city has an amazing arts culture here. just fantastic. We just had the Evergreen Artisan Market on Friday night and Saturday, and it was just fantastic going out there and hanging out with all the artists in the city and them selling their different things. It's a juried show, and it was just fantastic. I'm just like, I just love this arts community. It's so my people. And I'm so thinking about that about the Fibre Frolic too. I'm like, I can't wait to go with my people that understand. And I'm sure none of us there need to buy any more yarn, but we will. And I'm excited. Anyways, and so I'm just losing my train of thought because I'm thinking about yarn. But yeah, I've just become like way more mindful, way more grateful for my everyday, even though what may not be happening now can go in the future. And so then I was working with the Arts Center, and we have a thing in Saskatchewan. Well, I think it's nationwide actually, called Culture Days. And it's the end of September, and we would always do a program that involves things in the school and then things throughout the city. And so a lot of times when they did the things in the school, they would ask me, would you go into the schools and teach something? And I was like, sure, I have no problem going. I'm not scared of kids, stick me in there. So I would go into the classrooms, and then one year it was on wellness. And I said, well, I have an idea of what I want to teach. And I created a little program called Weaving into Wellness. Oh, I should have grabbed one of my bracelets. But so what I did was I went into the classrooms and I taught all the students how to weave. We just did a little, oh, I have a kit here. So we just used, oh, I think I might have a kit here. Look at that. So they all got one of these little bags. And then they got a thing of string. And then I would teach them how to weave with this. So we just do, an easy weave. And then they all got like a wooden bead. And then they would, after they did the weaving, they would loop the bracelet like this with the bead in the middle. And then it would just be a bracelet that would tighten up around the wrist. And through it, like just the repetitive motion of weaving, of knitting, of crocheting, of even spinning yarn is just so meditative. And so many of these kids were like, I can't do that. That's too hard. And then all of a sudden it'd be so exciting because all of a sudden they'd be doing it and they'd figure out the over, and then they would figure it all out. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my goodness, I can do this. And then they're really like, oh, look at the colors and look at what it's creating. And it was just so fantastic. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, how all these kids were getting something. They didn't think they were creative, or they didn't think that they could, make something. And here they were creating. And it was just fantastic because all of a sudden, like, there'd be people talking a little bit, but they were so focused on what they were doing and they were trying really hard. And even like Bigger Saskatchewan is fantastic. I just love the ladies in this community. And they're the ones that host Saskatchewan's only Fibre Festival in their little community of Bigger, which is like, I think it's an hour outside of Saskatoon. So it's not like an easy place to get to, or a, high population area. And then they knew me through the Fibre Festival. And so they said, would you come to our community and teach this? Because they saw me posting it on Facebook that I was teaching it in my city. And I said, well, sure. So they invited me to their community. One of these lovely ladies let me stay in her home for the how many days was I there? 2 days. And I worked with every classroom in that school from grade 7 to 12. They all came, they gave me a special classroom, and the classes all came in and took turns. And it was just fantastic just seeing what they were able to create. And one of the things that, like the repetitive motion of knitting, crochet, and weaving, it releases serotonin. And so it's meditative, just like yoga would be. It releases the same things. And so why they are in more of a relaxed state. And when you're working on something, your mind gets focused on that, and your mind's not focused on all the stuff your brain is telling you all the time. Think of teenagers today and how many messages are going through their minds from social media or whatever is going on. And we think of 1,000 negative messages in our brains every day about ourselves and who we are, or, whatever. And this little exercise I did with them gave them a break from that, because they were thinking about what they were weaving and what they were creating. And so through that, I've just continued to develop different workshops, and I have a new one that I've created now called the Maker's Wellness Workshop. And I'm just so excited because through what I've learned and what I've taken through the years and how I've developed and my skill and abilities and all those kind of things of what I am able to create now, and how I just look at everything differently. When I'm sitting down, I create an environment, I create a space for my creation. I don't know if you've ever heard of Hygge. It's, the act of being cozy. And I love that. So I've tried to create in my home more a sense of, Hygge, so that people are comfortable and relaxed in my space, and it just changes your whole attitude towards so many things. Even my one daughter had moved away to go to school, and she came back and she was like, "Mom, you're way more relaxed now." So I was just like, "Oh, I guess I'm being successful in this." So, and it's just been really interesting, the process that I've gone over in the last little bit. And since then, I've actually moved from crocheting to I'm doing more knitting, because all of that is I'm pulling from the right and I'm using my right. And so, and I'm so thankful for that, because I'm just like, man, it's awesome to have a project in your bag all the time, because it is like the lightest craft to do. I can take it anywhere. I love it. So, and now I've been, knitting more and creating, and it's interesting because I approach it differently than what I used to. And it just feels different when I create now. And I think even the different things I'm creating, I don't know, everything just feels different. So this is actually, I don't even know what to be, like a shawl thing. I just designed this pattern. So I'm going to be releasing this pattern right away. So, and here, I'll show you real quick. I'm excited about this. Like literally, I haven't even blocked it yet, because I just took it off the needle. So, I use mini skein.
Beautiful.
So, because you get so many different mini skeins from different things. So I just thought I need to make some, because like I have a whole basket of mini skeins. So I'm just like, I need to make something with all of these. And so this was from some of my yarn that when I dyed yarn of what I had. I love tweed. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but yeah, so it was just 12 mini skeins, and it has a nice little shape to it, just like some different, I still need to block it, but hey, I'm all excited about it. So this will be, every pattern I've released so far has been crochet. So this will be my first knitted pattern that I'm going to release. So if anyone has a whack of minis that you don't know what to do with, I have a project for you. So
you know what I love about it is that you said it's knit, but it looks crocheted.
Well, maybe that's what I do. So when I was when I was crocheting, somebody made a comment on my crochet, and said that, an old-fashioned design with a modern flair or something like that is how they described it. So, so that's kind of, I guess, how I always like to think about of how I design, and everything that I design, very repetitive, just like, the meditative thing. Everything that I do, like even my crochet designs, were they weren't difficult, but they looked elegant. They looked a little bit more, I don't know. They looked difficult, but they weren't. So I just found the best ways to create and to do it so that it wasn't complicated, but had an overall really nice look. So
Yeah. Oh, and Susanna's saying she needs a pattern for an advent that she's doing for her friends. So that's perfect. 12 minis. That's perfect.
well, so I'm actually been going through all my pattern lists and thinking about, well, and I have some more ideas of patterns that I want to create because I can't create a lot of things again because I know it'll just cause me pain. But I have projects in mind and I know like I'm looking for specific yarn. So I'm coming with projects in mind. So because I know if I don't, I'll just go there. Well, that's pretty yarn. And I'll just buy everything. So I'm trying to be mindful in how I buy my yarn. So we'll see how it goes.
Mhm. I know. You know what? Actually, that is something. I don't want to derail what you had wanted to talk about, but that is something that actually it's interesting to me. I learned a lot this summer. I listened to Seth Godin's audiobook, This is Marketing, over the summer. And I learned something about human nature. I learned a lot from listening to that book, but there was one bit in particular where he was talking about working in India with trying to help people to get glasses. And selling them for a really good price to people, like a price that was very affordable to people who needed them, right? So a price that they could afford in a village where they didn't really have a lot of money. And the way that people's brains work when they're working from a position where they don't have a lot of money versus from a position where shopping is fun. Do you know what, like where shopping is like something that we do for pleasure versus where shopping is something that you do to survive. And it's very interesting to me to think about mindfulness in shopping. And long story short, I'll just say that from my background, shopping is not something that I do for pleasure. So it's very interesting to me, the bringing that and realizing that as a show organizer, realizing how much of that I had brought to the language that I use when I talk about and the things that I think about organizing a festival. And realizing that not everyone in my audience thinks that way. And so it's interesting to me thinking about like mindfulness in shopping. And I'm curious what you think about like mindfulness in shopping, because I realize that sometimes it can be completely healthy. And even an exercise in mindfulness and self-care for someone to go shopping and spend money on themselves. I hadn't realized that until this summer. So I'm curious, as someone who works in mindfulness and the fiber arts, what do you think about that? And if you have any thoughts about that at all, like I said, I'm springing this on you. Let's.
No, it's all good. I've changed my perspective on a lot of different things. Even how I was talking with like the hygge and adding more hygge into my home. And part of that is simplifying things. Because so often, I've heard how many times it's coming into Christmas and so many people are like, I don't know what to buy anyone, because if they want it, they just go out and buy it. And so how do you buy gifts for people? And so that is something interesting. And actually part of the reason I'm driving the 6 hours one way to Edmonton is because the Fibre Frolic just isn't about going and buying yarn, but it's the whole experience, right?
Yeah.
And so even when I went to Evergreen Artisan Market the other night, sure, the artisans have all their booths up and they have amazing things, but there's also food booths and there's musicians playing. And like Friday night was the sip and shop. So you can have a glass of wine while you're wandering around shopping and visiting with people. And it's just not about going there and shopping from people. It's about the whole experience and visiting. Like I was there for probably over 3 hours and there wasn't that many vendors, but it was more about the experience. And even like me driving to Edmonton, like I'm from Saskatchewan. I'm driving to Edmonton for this. And I thought, I'm coming all the way there. I want this experience. I signed up for a workshop. I signed up to volunteer. And so that is, I think, part of the process, because it's just not, it's about, instead of buying things, I would rather buy experiences or invest in experiences. And so that's a different way of perspective for gifts for people, instead of, with some of the family members, instead of buying every family member something that I've started doing is buying like a board game for the family. So hopefully I'm encouraging the family to spend some family time together and to do something along those lines. So, I don't know. I found, with shopping, it's okay. I've been, I don't know, I guess this with age, maybe I'm becoming smarter in my buying decisions. Like even, every time I would go shopping and be like, ooh, well, that's a cute mug. I'm pretty sure I need more mugs. But now what I've done, instead of, getting all the cute mugs, I'm buying more pottery. I'm investing in things a little bit more, things that, I will take a little bit more care of, and are these special things for me and that type of stuff. Like every Saturday morning, I use the same mug. It's my special mug for Saturday mornings because I created this special moment in time. So I think if you're going to, it's important to invest, in some things for yourself, but to do it in a way that it's creating something special for yourself. Just don't spend to spend, but spend with a purpose.
Yeah, I was always like, well, like think it through. That was part of why in May I released like that. I had asked Danielle actually to create that project planning worksheet. Like, come prepared, make sure that you're buying stuff not just to feed the stash, because for me, I felt like that's part of my value system was like, that's just where I came from, as far as like, you buy it if you need it. And that was just, and I guess I realized through reading that Seth Godin's This Is Marketing, because he was talking about like coming from that sort of that poverty, was where it's like, if you buy this, that means you can't get this, right? And that's kind of where my value system was, because that's the way that I grew up, right? Like, if we buy this, that means we can't get this, so we buy what we need, not what we want. Whereas we're kind of in this stage in my life right now where, we've still got young kids, and so there is still some of that decision, and well, if we buy this, that means we can't get that. But it's not totally where like it's, we eat or we buy yarn, right? Like so it's it made me realize that sometimes the act of self-care is that ability to go to the festival and to buy yourself something nice, and that's okay. I hadn't first, and here I am organizing the show, but I hadn't actually realized like that's actually okay. Like, you're not committing a cardinal sin by doing that.
Well, I've been watching, I think I've watched almost all of the videos, and I saw the map you posted the other night of where all the vendors are, and I'm like, I want to print that off so I can make little notes beside each, because I've been watching it going, oh, well, that looks really nice. I like to check that out, or I like to check that out. And so I've kind of been making notes of who I want to talk to, and different booths that I want to make sure that I stop by and see. And so I'm already like pre-planning my, like, what I want to do before I go. Because, well, kind of like you were talking with the purchasing, you're either, you can't purchase food or yarn. It's just kind of the same thing as like our time, right? If we say yes to one thing that we're giving up time for, we're saying no to something else. So whatever it is, either way, it's an investment. So where are you going to spend that? And I don't know if I have this, I can't remember the stat, but I think it's almost like 80% of the items that people make, like knitting, crochet, and all, it's given away. We
Yeah.
make to give. We're creating in it, and that's what is something that's so healthy about the crafts that we do, or the creative process that we all go through. It's because we have someone in mind, and we're being mindful of whatever we were making to
Yeah.
give to that person. So we're thinking about that person, and then however you look at it, like you could be praying for that person or whatever as you're making, a blanket or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Like I know my neighbor was dying of cancer, and she was always cold, and so I made her a little lap blanket that would go with her wheelchair and stuff. And so I made this for her, and she had it on all the time for hospital visits, like it but in the vehicle, like it was like on her lap like nonstop, until she passed away. And then when she passed away, like this blanket that I made became like a family heirloom. Like the kids were like arguing over who was going to get the blanket after she passed away. I was just like, wow, you never know, like the things that you're creating for people, the lasting effect that it may have on the receiver. So I've made a lot of things that I've sold, but I probably made more things that I've given away. So
Mhm.
and it's just so special to see when people love those things. So even though we're going to the Fibre Frolic and buying the yarn, a lot of times we're buying it and mindful of the person that we're giving it to. So we make color choices based on that person, or maybe texture or whatever it may be. So yeah, I love fiber artisans. They're so special because just the stuff that they do is just absolutely amazing. The heart behind the maker is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I 100% have to agree. Um, I don't know if I've ever met a fiber artist that I didn't like. You know what I
I just,
mean? Like,
I am so enjoying this conversation, Carolyn. Like, you're just giving me the warm and fuzzies the entire time. I love that last part that you just said. It's just so important to know that with every stitch, whether you're selling it or you're giving it away, a piece of you, and I think I said this at some point during this, a piece of you is going with that item because of the time that it took, because of the, emotion and feeling that went into making this piece. Every time you ripped it out because you didn't like something, like that's a part of you that's being left behind. So I too love these people. Like fiber artists are just amazing individuals. And I'm glad to be a part of this tribe. I really am.
yeah. So well said. It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I probably sound a little bit crazy with my whole like mindful shopping, making crazy decisions.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think
No.
it's important. I think we need to be more mindful.
Yes. Of all purchases, right? Like, are you buying just for the sake of buying? Or are you buying with, like Carolyn said, with a person in mind? Like when you see this beautiful yarn, do you have somebody in mind, something that you're going to make for someone, knowing that somebody's having a baby or somebody is dealing with a health issue and they need a lap, like there are reasons why we buy. And I do sometimes see it as self-care, right? Because a lot of times I don't want the jewelry. I don't want the perfume. I don't want these things. But when I see a beautiful ball of yarn, I want that. When I see a beautiful tool like my Furls crochet hooks, I want that. Like I'm going to use it for a specific purpose. And I want that. So that is a part of self-care, I think. So, for those of you who are going to the festival and you've had in your mind, I'm planning for this, I put my stash to the side of money I'm going to spend at the festival. That I think that is mindfulness, actually, because you planned it, like you had that as a thought process. when you purchased the tickets, right? You had this in mind. I'm going with a goal in mind. I'm going for the workshops. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to reconnect with people after being away from them for so long. So I think it is a part of mindfulness. Yeah.
Yeah. What you working on right now, Davida? I keep seeing
Wait,
little glimpses. Oh my goodness. See, it keeps blurring out. But is
Oh,
that a hot air balloon?
it is a hot air balloon. Hold on, let me see if I can get my letter off. So it's a little hot air balloon blanket.
Pretty. Now, is that a gift for someone? I see a
It's a
name.
gift for someone. It is a gift. My cousin, when you mentioned cancer, my cousin was diagnosed with breast cancer. And right after that, she found out she was going to be a grandma. So this is for her grandbaby.
Aw, I love it so much.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
man.
Yeah, this is a really nice conversation.
Yeah. Stephanie just said in the comments, that's a really cool perspective when it comes to making gifts for people. I've just started a baby blanket for my cousin who's going to have a baby girl.
Oh, yay, me too. Girls rule the world. Yeah, so important. We're giving, a piece of us. We really are. So
Mhm.
it makes it worth it.
Yeah. Okay, Suzanne or Susanna, I'm reading Susanna's name here in the comments and trying to talk to Carolyn. Carolyn, I know well, obviously you're coming out in like a few days. And I'm so grateful for your help as a volunteer. I'm so excited to meet you in person. I know we've already been talking about having you come and do a workshop on mindful fiber art in May. Spoiler alert, everybody who's here. But I want to hear more about the workshops that you do. Do you do weekend retreats for fiber artists? How do you run what you do?
Oh, I teach a lot of workshops. Actually, it's part of my job.
Okay.
Actually, for my job, this is my my wellness side of things is my whole fiber business. But as a day job, I'm a business development officer for Community Futures, and I help businesses get started. So I actually teach a lot of business workshops as well. So I have a degree in communications and marketing. And so I help a lot of businesses with their startups, but I also teach artisan startups as well. So I teach artists about branding, marketing themselves, all that type of thing as well. So I teach all of that on the side, well, as the artisan stuff, but I teach business workshops all day and marketing and bookkeeping, you name it. I teach all of that stuff. And then, a lot of weekends I've gone to retreats where I've taught crocheting things. I've taught at the art center. I've taught crocheting and knitting classes there. I just love hanging out with people, and I don't know, I like the teaching thing. I don't know. So I always find myself usually in that position, but the weaving into wellness one that I taught with the students, I've taught in schools all over Saskatchewan right now, and that has been fantastic. And the one that I did in Bigger actually was I came home 2 days right before COVID locked everything down. So it was amazing that I'm so glad that I had that opportunity to go and teach them before everything got shut down on me. So, and then it gave them something to do. So many of them were out trying to find the thread and that type of stuff to make more bracelets after they went home. So I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity. And now I've started teaching, it's the Makers Wellness one, which is really exciting. I've been wanting to teach one online, like virtually, just to see how it would work that way. But I have taught it within my community. We have some really great locations around us where you can go and do weekend retreats and do different things. And so I've been, very thankful for the opportunity to go out and kind of share this with other people, and just watching people create while you're teaching and that type of thing is really good, because I don't know, I find I listen better when I'm knitting or crocheting, and so I think that's why I listen to audiobooks all the time, why I'm knitting and that type of thing, because I love to learn. And so, like, even driving to Edmonton, I already have a list of podcasts and ebook or audiobooks all downloaded for my like hours and hours in my vehicle. So and if I could, I would probably knit what I was trying to. That's probably not a good idea with all the snow that we've been getting.
No.
But yeah, I love learning, and I love sharing what I learn. And I'm just really, excited to go out and it's almost challenging sometimes to see what people give to me. Like, I just got contacted the other day, and it's for people in leadership positions, and they want to learn more about mental wellness. So I'm really excited about being able to talk to them from a professional standpoint. And because some of them are like high level politics and this kind of stuff, but everyone is dealing with issues right now. So we've come through a lot that was new. We've had to learn how to deal with things we've never had to deal with before. And so we have this opportunity now to learn and grow from it. And, some people are struggling with it because they internalize it too much instead of learning how to deal with it. So any workshops that I teach, I always create workbooks to go along. I don't want people just to come to my workshops and say, oh, well, that was really nice, hour of my life, and then go on. I want them to actually apply it to their lives. Like, that was what I liked about doing the bracelet and the weaving into wellness, because I told them that, all the negative things that you're telling yourself and that your mind is telling you, that's not the truth. It's just your mind doing those things. So whenever you look at this bracelet, I want you to remember that they're just negative thoughts. They're not the truth, and they're not who you are. And so they had something tangible that they could take away. So even, the workshop that I'm planning for May will have like a journaling component to it. And I'm even putting together like a wellness kit of some really cool little things that people get to take home as well. So I want to be able to teach, but also make it applicable so that you will continue on and take it home with you and be, mindful and grateful and different things as you move forward, and just giving everybody like a different perspective of how they can look at things.
Wow. That's, oh my gosh. I'm so excited for May.
So I'm excited about this weekend.
Yeah. I know. I'm really excited about this weekend too. But like, the more I'm, like, I keep getting emails from, vendors from across the country, like, hey man, we want to come out for May. We missed the opportunity to get ourselves together for November. We didn't even know you existed until it was too late to get ourselves together for November, but we want to come out for May. And, like, obviously we already had the conversation about how I totally dropped the ball for getting you here for November as a workshop instructor, but, May is going to be amazing. And we'll just have to see all the other stuff there's so much that I know the vendors already, like the vendors who are going to be here in November, they know. And a lot of our guests know. Like, I had talked about doing an art gallery and I couldn't pull it together. It was just too many details. I couldn't pull it together this first time. That's going to be in May. Like, I talked about doing a fashion show. I couldn't pull it together. It was too many details. That's going to, like, there's so much that May, it's just going to be like, the angels are going to sing, man. Like,
well, every time you host it, you're just like upping your game every time. So you're marketing that you've done this time, like everything, like you've definitely like, it's just everywhere I go. Well, probably because I'm so into Canadian yarn and everything right now. I love, love, love learning everything about the Canadian yarn. Like Anna with her Long Way homestead, I get her breed of the month yarn.
Mm.
Oh my goodness, I love it. And then
Yeah.
I found out that right by where I live, like just like a few kilometers down the road, I found a farmer who has Icelandic sheep. So he lets me come over to his house and like hang out with the sheep, and he's like giving me fleece and everything. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it because the process of the people who do all the work with the yarn and process the wool, oh my goodness, like that is so much work. Physically, I know I am not capable of doing that, but man, I appreciate all the work that they do. So I know when I get that yarn from Anna every month that I'm just like, I know how much work went into this. So
Yeah.
I am so excited to meet her in person. I visited with her over Instagram, and man, everything that the fiber industry in the prairies right now is just exploding, and I'm so excited to see it happen. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. And I am so excited. I'm taking Anna's class on Sunday morning. And yes, because I just need to learn all about it. So I am like an addict to natural yarns right now. So and it started when I was dyeing, because I started learning the whole process about how the different fibers take the dye, and I used very natural dyes when I was doing it. And yeah, the process is just amazing, and there's just so many different facets to the fiber industry. So it's just, yeah, I'm just really excited. There's so many exciting things happen right now. So thank you, Holly, for building into that and growing that industry in the prairies.
Oh man, no, it's so my pleasure. It's so fun to see. Like you said, it's so fun to see it growing, and just yeah, I'm so excited to see, like I'm so excited to have a tiny little part to play in it. Okay, we have two people here. Well, no, two comments from Stephanie. Stephanie's saying she loves the journaling idea. I take notes at church and feel like I get a lot more out of what's said because I write it down. Writing down things helps physically remember what's verbally received, if that makes sense. I totally, yeah. I think you'd probably like, yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like as I write in my journal, it's interesting because, well, when you write it's anything when you're writing goals, or writing purposeful statements about yourself or whatever it may be, as you write it down, it makes it become more real. It becomes reality in a way. And so yeah, that is like writing things down. I have just seen so much growth in myself through writing the journal. And if anyone's interested in checking that out, it's on my website. If you go, that's under the tab My Journey Journal. And there's a whole story behind all of that. It's, yeah, I'll share it in May. And so but yeah, if you want it, all the questions that I ask myself every week are out in there. It's a free download. I don't charge you for it. It's a gift. I just want people to do it because it has been such an important growth for me in my own life. And so, yeah, just go ahead, download it. I even shared a video there too, if you want to learn a little bit more about the journal. All on that page, there's even a YouTube video that you can watch and learn more about the process of the journal and how it came about and all that kind of stuff. So if anyone's interested in checking that out, it's free. It's on my website. So I would love, and then if after you start doing it, because you only have to do it once a week, and then I would love in a few weeks, contact me and let me know what you've learned about yourself, because that is something that's really interesting. Because as you start writing out these things and asking yourself these questions, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I didn't think I thought that way, or I didn't see it from that perspective. And it's interesting how your journey starts to unfold in front of you, rather than living in the moment and only seeing this small portion of it. When you get to see it from like a zoomed out view, it gives you a whole new perspective on what's happening and the lessons maybe that you're learning in your life. So it's a really interesting process.
Yeah, Awesome. I love it. Okay, Carolyn, this hour has just flown past. So good.
Been an hour already? Wow.
So yeah, I want to make sure that we have time for chatting with Dan before Blue Moon comes on to do their trunk show at 8:30. So yeah, I am so excited to see you in like 5 days. Thank you so, so much. Safe travels for when you come down. Um, yeah, thank you. Deviter, do you have any last words for Carolyn?
No, thank you again. That was excellent. And I'm going over to the website to download my journal.
That sounds great. So yeah, if you see me at the Fibre Frolic, come and say hi. I'm
Of course, I'm
working in
gonna
the
see you.
social lounge, I think, on Sunday afternoon. So bring your work in progress and come and hang out with me.
Yep. Okay, bye, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Okay, Deviter. We
Yes.
have Susanna wrote, this is referring back to Coletta.
Mhm.
Susanna says she's finishing off a crochet dolly called Boo. It's a free pattern on Ravelry and it's on the first page you see at the moment.
Oh,
So
hey,
Coletta has inspired some people.
I love that. I love it. That's awesome. Crochet away, my friend. I love that.
Yeah. So, okay. So we have got our next guest is a fiber artist from here in Edmonton. Also a workshop instructor for Edmonton Fiber Frolic happening this November. And I'm super, super, super excited to introduce to you Dan Fuechtmann. I hope I'm saying that right. I think I am. Nope.
She's like, no, you're not.
You have to unmute yourself and tell us how to say your last name, man.
So it's Fickman, but
Minute.
it's okay. Everyone pronounces it incorrectly, and I am like solidly mulling over changing my last name. So maybe one of these days it will not be that.
Oh, no,
I've learned to have fun with it. Yeah, I've had it pronounced incorrectly my entire life. Yeah, so it's okay.
I can fully identify. People call me some of everything besides Devita. I get some of everything. So I feel your pain.
I think I used to get offended when I was like 12, 13. And then after that, I was just like, it's fine. Just like, I have some people that like make jokes out of my name. And I'm just like, if you can land it, even if I've heard the joke a million times, if you can land it, I will still laugh. So.
Aw.
So funny, guys. We have known each other for several years. We met each other standing in line waiting to get out of the Etsy Made in Canada show after a very long weekend. Yeah, you were there as a weaver and I was there selling my yarn. It was my first time selling yarn. I had been there the year before selling crocheted hats, and then I was like, well, I'm not making any money selling hats, so I'm going to sell yarn instead. And
That's so funny. I didn't know that. Similarly, it was my second show, first or second show. My first one, I had taken tapestries with me and wasn't the right audience for those. And yeah, the next time I brought pillows, again, also not the right audience for those, but I learned a lot about how important it is to like know your audience and connect with people. So yeah, I met you though, so at least there was good things came from it.
yeah, totally. Because then we went out, had some coffee, talked about yarn and arts and all kinds of stuff, and just like kept in touch ever since then. And I mean, you've done so much to help support getting the Edmonton Fibre Frolic, even like before when Fibre Frolic was Allison's baby. You had done a lot to help make the Fibre Frolic an amazing thing here in Edmonton. And then you've done a lot to help support making it a thing here. And you have your own brand, Curious Fox Fibers. And yeah, Ginger's now just like, look at that studio.
Yeah, so I just moved. So it's a new studio. So I can show that off after.
Yeah. So I would love for you to tell us, because you have such an interesting story about how you got into fiber, being a graphic designer. So tell us about that, your journey into fiber.
Yeah, so I'm actually a graphic designer by trade. I actually originally marketing, communications, and journalism, and then I went back to school for graphic design. And the program that I chose was digital focus. So I really wanted to develop a studio practice and make things by hand, and have a different way of exploring like color and form and all of that kind of thing, and also stop looking at a screen, because between my like school day and then my freelance work, and I was also the editor-in-chief of the school paper, I was looking at computers all day. So I needed something to unplug, and I'm really bad at not doing things. So it was like I needed something that wasn't an activity or a screen or like TV or anything like that. So that was when like tapestry weaving was just starting to kind of become a popular thing, and I was intrigued and I started playing with that. And I had found like I tried painting. I have a lot of incredible artists and painters in my family, like professional painters, and I would look at mine and be like, it's not that. And I would get really frustrated. But when I found myself working with fiber, it came really intuitively to me. It was a medium that I felt excited by the possibility of. So I kept weaving, and then I started doing embroidery as well. And then I discovered punch needle and rug hooking. And then somewhere in that time, then I got my first table loom. And very, very quickly after, I got a floor loom. And probably around that time, I was starting to teach tapestry weaving. I teach with Friends School of Craft here in Edmonton, and I occasionally will teach down in Calgary at Stash, mostly spinning and things like that there. But I was starting to realize I was accumulating a lot of little fiber scraps from just trimming all of the little loose ends off of like the looms and off of my weavings. And I also, I'm a little less active these days. I've had a lot on my plate, but I did a lot of climate justice organizing, and I'm really passionate about sustainability and climate justice issues. And so one way that started to overlap was thinking about how I could repurpose these waste materials and not throw them out. And at that point, I'd seen, I think, like one or two people starting to like spin yarns with scrap fibers, and that really intrigued me. And so I started playing around with that, and I first rented a spinning wheel from the Weavers Guild here. I was supposed to take a spinning class, but I ended up just getting sort of like a 1-hour quick lesson because I wanted my wheel before the class started. And the instructor was like, I don't know how we're going to keep you busy. I have a feeling I've created a monster. And she was right. I didn't do any client work for like the next week and a half because all I did was spin yarn. I was obsessed. And I would say I still am. So now I do a mix of handwoven home goods. So I do a lot of tea towels and scarves. I really enjoy making functional items for the home and for living, and I also do hand spun yarns and fibers and like bats and things like that. So that's I would say most of my time now is in weaving and spinning and fiber preparation, but I also still play around with tapestry sometimes, and I do different dyeing projects. So lately that's been mostly focused in dyeing like finished hand woven items. So things that like I'll weave my own blanks and like dye scarves and things like that. And I've been dabbling increasingly in different dyeing techniques. So that's been kind of fun to learn to pair, I guess, like the yarns that I was creating, and just being able to start thinking about creating yarns that would pair nicely with them and things like that. So that's where that's developed. So now I do still have a day job. For a while, for several years I was freelancing and splitting time, but now I have a day job as a graphic designer, and I do my fiber stuff on the weekends and the evenings.
Awesome. Such a fun life.
It's pretty exciting.
So you would make a scarf using what color yarn? Like you use like just a raw something or another? Not raw, but
so it depends. When I'm doing like my blanks, I'll just use usually an undyed, like a natural cotton. And sometimes I'll like put, going to say sometimes I'll do merino or like just wool yarns, but that's not true. I usually do cottons for my scarves. I play with wool for other things, but not scarves lately. And then my other scarves that I weave are with like finished yarns. So I'll use like, this is one of my hand spun art yarns. So I'll like use that. And then I have a giant right behind me. The lower shelves are all my yarn stash that I've collected from other dyers and yarn shops. So I'll combine different yarns that I source for full scarves.
That's really cool. When you dye your blanks, do you have something in mind that you're going for, or do you just let the colors do their thing?
So I actually mostly do my dyeing with ice dyeing techniques. I really love the watercolor effect that it gives. I actually just finished a batch, so I can take you on a quick tour of the studio.
Ooh, let's do it.
Yeah, so it's a bit messy. I'm not even finished unpacking. I like just finished bringing all the boxes over last week, so it's still in progress. But
what an amazing space, though.
Yeah, so I'm lucky. I just moved back into my family home, so I'm now the sole resident of my childhood home, which is kind of cool. I'm the third generation to live here. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Sorry, it's things that really excite me. That's awesome. That's great.
So it's been kind of cool to move back and experience it as like my home versus my childhood home, and kind of like take that ownership and start to see it reflect me and not my mom. So that's been kind of cool. So behind me, this is kind of like how I enter my studio. So there's kind of this sitting space here, and this is where I do my spinning. And there's like a little fireplace, and this bookshelf, they'll both be white eventually, but for now we're working with the furniture that's in the space. There's like a little TV there. So my partner will often, when they come stay over, we'll sit and watch Star Trek together, and I'll spin yarn. And then behind me, we walk into kind of my weaving and making space. So behind me this is where all of my product will go. It's currently kind of boxed up for this weekend. And then I have my 2 looms here, and you'll see all of my fiber for spinning. So you'll see kind of the baskets of colorful wools. Those are all commercially prepared. I do try to source all of my materials from minority owned, queer, women owned, and minority businesses. It's important to me. I'm a queer artist, so it's important yeah, just to kind of support other minority owned businesses. And then I have all my weaving yarns there, and then those under here, that is my stash of, I also indulge at the yarn shows. I definitely have like periodic breaks in the evening where I'm like, or during the day where I'm like, and now I'm going to go shopping. So these are some of the scarves that I've done recently that are just out of the dye pot. So the thing that I really love about the ice dyeing technique is it gives this really
That's amazing.
kind of watercolor effect. So yeah, I just kind of lay my colors and let them bleed down. This is a blank that I was mentioning, so you'll kind of see it's just kind of a basic woven white cotton. Most of it's just like a 2/8 weaving cotton, and then this one has like a bit of a, some of it's done with a 2/8 slub, so it just gives that beautiful subtle texture. So yeah, that's what I dye when I am playing with the dye pots.
That's really cool. I love the idea of ice dyeing. I think it's just so neat. Is it, so the dye that you use, is it like a powder or is it a liquid? Like, how does that work? I'm
Yes,
so sorry if this is not what you were looking to talk about, because I'm just asking all the questions.
I am just happy to talk about yarn and fiber. You can ask me whatever you'd like.
Okay.
I really typically do most of my ice dyeing with cotton. So it is using just like Procyon MX dyes in powder form. And you just like lay down your ice on top of it and then sprinkle your dye as you so choose. And I find the thing that's been most interesting to experience and learn about it is that it's quite different from working with dye when you've already mixed it with water. So depending how your like colors strike and bleed, similar to like when you're sprinkling over like a dye pot or something like that and your colors bleed out, it does the same thing, but because it's melting over an extended period of time, it's not necessarily going to kind of predict, you're not going to be able to predict it. And a lot of dye colors are multiple pigments make up that color. So when you're like mixing it with water to like dye in a dye pan or things like that, you're already mixing all of those colors together, and so that's how you're getting that one like tone that you're getting. Whereas when you're doing the ice dyeing, it's kind of like, how did that single particle of dye hit the fabric in relation to what's around it? I kind of always think about it like, I remember being a kid in science class and we did that like using black pens, and like you draw on like a coffee filter and then you like put some water on it and you see like black ink that separate into all of the component colors. It kind of reminds me of that. So I usually try to think about color palette that I like, and I kind of have started to learn like what each of the colors I like separate into, so I can kind of predict how it will affect. And I know one of Holly and I's friends here in town, Angela of Neatnik Yarns, has also been doing some ice dyeing, which has been interesting watching us both like explore the same medium at like a similar timeline. And I would say our work looks very different. We both have like very different color sensibilities, but also just the way that we apply the powder, like even though we're both just like basically chucking like dye powder onto ice and seeing what happens, our results are very different and very like, you can tell whose is whose, which is cool.
That's cool. That's so cool. One other question about the ice.
Yeah.
So is it specific ice, or do you just get like a bag of ice from the stove? Like what?
I just get a giant bag of ice from like the store. I like to, when I'm being efficient, I like to go to like the President's Choice, like no frills or whatever, and buy the like party bag that's like half the size of me, and I'm like, all the ice. And I remember the first time I picked it up, like it was like peak pandemic when I was first starting to dabble with ice dyeing. So I'm like going and like carrying out this like giant like party bag of ice, and I'm like looking, like making eye contact with people as I'm leaving the store. I'm like, I swear I'm not having a party. I'm not having a party. I'm just going to go dye things in my apartment. And it was like winter too, so like contextually, like it's not like I could have been like, I'm tie-dyeing shit in my backyard. It was like,
I love
okay,
it.
I'm gonna like lug up this big bag of ice in the middle of winter to my apartment and like have it like sitting on my studio floor, and I'm like, please melt, please don't stain my floors. Luckily I got my damage deposit back. I accidentally stained my bathtub blue.
Not blue.
The funny part is when I first moved in, I had used a bath bomb from Lush, and it stained my bathtub quite truly the pink that both of you are wearing today.
Stop it.
Yeah, I panicked. And then the next, I think I talked to my building manager, and she's like, well, you're not stained pink, so this is clearly a bathtub problem and not a so it's fine, we'll figure it out and we'll like refinish it. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I was like, well, I guess we already know the bathtubs, whatever. So now we'll use a different bath bomb. And so I used this like gold yellow one, and then my bathtub was yellow until they finally like stripped the enamel on it and refinished it. And so then at least matched my yellow bath towels. But the first or second time I used acid dyes, I was dyeing some wool. And so in theory, this should have been fine. However, when I dumped everything down my tub, I forgot that I had left a lot of acid in one of the buckets. So I dumped the acid down and then was rinsing it down with really hot water. And I was like, well, luckily I did that at like a boardwalk apartment and not my house, because my mother would have.
She would have killed you. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That wouldn't have been good. Not
So,
be on camera with you right now.
yeah, no. Yeah, so luckily I managed to get enough of it off. That boardwalk did not keep my security deposit. But since then, I have been very mindful of cold water rinses, and I'm not allowed to dye things in my house. So luckily I managed to do my last batch of ice dyeing just before it snowed 3 days ago. It was touch and go, like getting it to melt. I was like, melt, stick it right in the sun at like 3 in the afternoon, be like, please, Alberta sun, 2 more degrees.
All right, now you have to tell us about your workshop. You
Yeah.
have to tell the folks what they are in for. I'm not going to be there, so I have to live vicariously through all of you. So what is this workshop?
I'm going to be teaching beginner tapestry. So we will be kind of jumping right in. I should have some coffee before I go to bed. That's really logical. We'll be jumping into tapestry weaving. So we'll be weaving on cute frame looms, which students will be able to take home and keep with them. Or they also have the option of, if they want to upgrade their loom kit, they can upgrade to one of my fancy tapestry looms and like pay for that upgraded option. And so we will be jumping right in and kind of learning how to warp a tapestry frame loom, some basic stitches, how to kind of do some troubleshooting, and how to like finish your stitches and things like that. So it'll be a really great like couple-hour introduction to the basics of tapestry. I will be bringing a selection of fibers with me, but I also encourage students to bring fibers in a color palette that makes their heart sing. It's also a fantastic way to use some of your yarn scraps, because we actually, especially with the size of the loom and the amount of yarn that weaving takes, it's like, bring your little bowl of scrap fibers, and this will be a really fun way to use some of those. So think of it as like a possible scrap buster project. Yeah, you'll also get more of my weird stories about times that I accidentally stain bathtubs, and why you should never cut with scissors towards your warp strings. Yeah, I have many weird fiber stories. So that's
Yeah.
the workshop. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. I'm so excited for everybody who's going to be participating in this workshop. Weaving is just so interesting to me. What made you get into it? Like what was the thing that you were like, I want to do this?
Ah, well, I was really interested in tapestry. I was really interested in actually more traditional tapestry than kind of like the very modern styles that we see now. I actually, behind me, have my first tapestry project, which I don't usually. I am someone who I never pick a small project. I was like, I want to learn how to weave. I did not decide to buy a small loom and start with what I am teaching in the workshop, which is where I should have started. Instead, I bought the largest loom that I could find,
Oh
and I
boy.
decided that I was going to weave with like crochet cotton, like that really thin crochet cotton, that I
Uh-oh.
was going to do a text-based tapestry. So
Oh.
I got this far. So it was supposed to say, we snatch our time together from the jaws of a bright-eyed tiger.
Oh.
And I got halfway through when the technical errors in the piece started to get to me. And I was like, well, maybe I'll take this off of the loom, give myself some grace, make some things that are like a little more fun and accessible and easy. And then I'll revisit the idea of trying to text in a tapestry, which is one of
Oh,
the hardest things that you can do.
and it's the first thing that you tried to
First
do.
thing that I tried to
I
do.
love
I
it.
know I'm always a jump both feet in, see how it goes
I
kind
love
of
it.
person.
I love it. Now, once you take, so I don't know anything about tapestry weaving. Once you take it off the loom, how do you put it back on?
So once it's off of the loom, you actually generally don't take it off unless like sometimes there are certain types of looms that are like intended to be sort of like a frame for the piece, in which case they will support it. But generally we actually cut it or pull it off of the loom and kind of stitch it onto like a dowel or whatever kind of hanging system we want. I have an example. So typically I finish a lot of my pieces by stitching them onto a dowel. So this is a larger piece that I've done. And so yeah, basically we end up cutting it off of the loom, and then I've sewn all of my edges into the weaving itself, and then kind of used some yarn to stitch it onto a dowel.
Wow.
That is an
Now,
option.
how long does something like that take to make?
Ah, that is a really good question. A piece like that probably took me 5 to 10 hours. And the reason is the type of stitches I used, really simple, like plain stitches, with the exception of a couple sections where I did like a cut raya, almost like rug pile texture. So it was a little bit of a simpler weave structure, and I used a bit of a thicker thread, whereas some of the pieces that I do now, and part of why I have stopped taking tapestries to markets, for the most part, is I do a lot of like really intricate stitches in my work. So some of my pieces can take me upwards of 40 hours. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's a bit
So,
of a labor of love, but you can also do like meditative, fun, smaller pieces. So that's what I love about weaving, is you can kind of do little mini weaves up to giant
yes.
projects that are labors of big love, big time.
Incredible. And do you write out these patterns? Like, so I'm a crocheter, so I am familiar with, written patterns. Do you write out your patterns?
Not usually. So in the class, one of the things that the students will get access to is I've developed sort of like a little work booklet that guides through each of the stitches that I'll teach, like the basic techniques and things that you'll need to know to do any type of tapestry weaving. So we'll cover some of those stitches in class. We won't cover all of them just because we only have a few hours on Sunday. But yeah, so in terms of patterns, like sometimes I have pieces where I have like a very geometric, like particular design in mind, and that I will do the math and figure out how many warp threads in, like where I need to start things. If I'm doing like ascending triangles, things like that. But often I weave intuitively. So sort of how
however the spirit leads.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of like our conversation earlier this evening. Sort of that like weaving is meditation, and that's really a big part of how I approach weaving, is as more of sort of like a mindfulness, like meditative ritual practice, and connecting just with body. And I think it's really interesting to think about fiber arts as kind of like a practice of like lineage of practices that were done mostly by women over time, and just kind of connecting with that ancestry and heritage.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. This was so insightful. I'm excited for everyone who's going to participate in the class. I know you guys are going to have an amazing time, and you're going to learn so much. I can't wait to see what people make. I hope, you all share it on social media so that we can check it out. So thank you. This was super cool.
Oh, my cat wants to say hello. He's running away.
Oh, he ran away.
Aw.
Hi, Kitty.
He's fickle.
Andy's a cutie.
Awesome. We have our next guest here.
Well, we did. Yes, I think we do. It says there are 4 people here.
There you are. Ooh, look at that pretty yarn back there. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Candy.
We're in my stash room at the moment, but I mean, this is our product, but then like up higher is
more fiber.
That's my stash. Yeah, we're not in the studio right now because that's the 3rd bay of my garage.
The internet's not so great out there.
It's not that great, but we're in my stash room that has all my fabric and my long arm and that kind of stuff.
Wow. Well, you picked a good spot. I'll tell you that much, because Lord have mercy. That yarn is gorgeous. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll hush now.
That's all good. No, it is gorgeous. It's my happy place. It really is my happy place.
Oh my goodness. So, Holly?
Yeah, well, okay, Megan, and I am so sorry. I'm completely drawing a blank. Yeah, Cindy. And I know you, Cindy, from before.
Years ago.
Before.
Yeah. It's been a while, but that's fine.
Yes, I know. It's like before the pandemic world didn't exist,
Yeah. When people talked to each other and went out, and then honestly, the last 3 years, it's kind of like a wormhole, because you're like, well, that just happened. That actually happened 8 years ago.
Right.
No.
You're like, no, I just did that. No,
I know. Yeah. I know. Yeah, we went to a shearing together. Like I was telling, I don't remember. It was during one of these virtual festival sessions though. I was telling about
wasn't that the Welsh sheep down by Innisfil?
It was Shetland. It was Shetland.
Shetland. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, out in Tofield.
Yep. Sure was.
Yeah. And yeah. I think it was during Long Way Homestead, because she was talking about how she has Shetlands, and I was like, man, like the underside when that fleece comes off, it is just the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. So I got to tell you an origin story that my mom told me of why the fiber feels so good in my hands. Apparently, my mom learned to spin in the grease when she was pregnant with me. So she says it kind of probably like leaked into the womb, into the DNA.
The lanolin.
It just leaked right in there. And yeah, so she's like, so there's no doubt that this is where you're supposed to be in your life because, well, you are.
Yeah.
So now she wants to learn how to spin again. But so we've got to get her a wheel and get her going again.
But she's allergic to wool.
So alpaca,
Yeah.
silk. I mean, there's lots of options for it. It's all good. So, yeah.
Totally lots of options. Yeah. Love it. Okay, so you guys are, well, Fibre to Fabric, and now the products
Purchased
behind you are Blue Moon.
Blue Moon Studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just over 2 months ago. So it's been a lot of fun getting to learn how to dye, and these are all our new colorways. We have lots of show and tell today.
Awesome.
That's what
Yeah,
we've
you
been
guys
doing.
are, yeah, y'all are so talented, multi-craftual on a whole ridiculous, awesome level. So,
So there's actually
Yeah.
3 of us. So we started Fibre to Fabric kind of at the beginning of the pandemic, just to give us something to do with our time and go to outdoor craft markets and stuff like that. So there's me and my youngest daughter, Megan, and then Alicia is my oldest daughter, who unfortunately has a very scratchy throat and can't talk and doesn't want to drive through a blizzard to be at my house.
But
So-
she is hard at work at home making bats for this weekend.
yeah, so she's working and she couldn't be with us tonight, but yeah, between the 3 of us, we sew, knit, crochet. I only crochet a little bit because I swear a lot when I crochet. Sorry, Davida, but so I can't do that at craft shows.
And Alicia can knit, but she swears a lot when she knits.
So she's not allowed to knit at craft shows.
I am fluently bistitual.
And Alicia felts incredidible creatures, and we all spin and weave. And I have a long arm, a 10-foot long arm for quilting in my space. You can't see it, it's hidden.
We kind of locked ourselves in a corner.
Yeah, so the table's an ironing board, but yeah, so I have, yeah, anything from spinning wheels to sewing machines to long arms to, yeah, looms.
I have a loom taking up half my living room.
Yeah. If
Didn't
it's
you just
fiber,
didn't you just win an award for one of your quilts?
no, I didn't win. They were in the show. I just finished. I was one of the organizers for Quilt Fest.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the girl that actually won our viewers' choice. Oh my goodness, she is so talented. But
She definitely deserved it.
She-
I saw everyone looking at that.
it was an amazing quilt that won our viewers' choice. But I was so proud that I actually had a few of my quilts in the show. Just to have them hanging there was kind of just neat and cool, because that's kind of a newer hobby. I've been sewing since I was 5, but quilting is kind of my newest rabbit hole.
I'm hoping to have something ready for the next quilt show in 2 years.
Yeah, so
I have yet to make a quilt, but I will.
Wow.
Amazing.
Impressive. So show us your goods. This is a
Yeah.
trunk show, right? Show us your goods.
so
Open up the trunk. Let
we
us-
have to say thank you to Andrea Ravoy, who is the most beautiful person I've met. She was so much fun. We drove down to Creston to buy her business from her. And, you know, the first meeting, you're like, you're all nice. And I let something drop, and all of a
F-bomb
sudden,
or
yeah,
something.
the
She's like,
whole
oh,
week,
okay, we can swear.
cool, we're on the same page. Excellent. And then the whole week we were there was just a blast. We had so much fun learning from her and, you know, talking about our theories in business and color and all that kind of stuff. And it was just a blast. So I'm grateful that she entrusted us with her business to carry it forward from her. So if she sees this eventually, thanks, Andrea.
We love you.
We love you.
So a new product we have, we just dyed it up a couple weeks ago, double-stranded sock blanks. So they're perfect if you want like one of a kind, hand dyed, but matching socks. Because if you get a single strand of sock blank, they're gonna look really different. So we got a rainbow, a double rainbow, This one is called Bubblegum Ice Cream. This one's like Ocean Waves, kind of different blues. And this pearl is on fire. So we just have like, yeah, limited quantities for now, but that's gonna be a regular thing. I always go to Fibre shows and I never see sock blanks, but I love working from them. They're so fun.
It's a sock blank.
Yeah. So it's like it's a double-stranded knitted, like just a long strip of fabric, and you just unravel it as you knit. So it'd be perfect for 2 at a time socks. So speaking of sock blanks, single sock blanks make up 1/2 of our Over the Rainbow shawl kits.
Wow.
So the variegated skein is dyed on a sock blank, and then we unravel it into a skein.
How smart. I'm sorry.
That's one of Andrea's brilliant ideas.
Yeah.
And that's the sample I made hanging up behind her there. So we got lots of fun different color combinations. You got like one like tonal solid kind of, and then a variegated to complement or contrast it.
And they're
Lots of
also
fun.
squishy. This is a fun one. It's super bright.
Yeah. So the ones we just did are with our new Morrissey MCN fingering. So it's 20% cashmere, and it's just so buttery. You just want to rub it on your face.
So I'll just sit here and pet the yarn. It's so good.
Yeah. Next, we have a new fiber base. It's merino bamboo silk, and it's and again, you just want to rub it on your face. It like almost feels similar to like the camel silk that we have too. It's these guys. So this one's called Dragonfly Wings, like blues, greens, purple. I'm gonna hang those up again. This one's called Citrus Smoothie.
Hold it up a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You gotta let us like drool a little bit longer.
You can come drool at our booth too. Pink quartz, nice and subtle.
And it's so soft.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Electric bubblegum, same colors as that's in the sock blank, the bubblegum ice cream. Here's our mermaid. We have mermaid on a lot of different fiber bases because it's very popular. And we have it on yarn.
And
too.
But it
that
looks
one's in
different.
the VIP. Yeah, that one's in the VIP bags, right? On the 17th.
Yeah,
the
we have
little-
some
little babies.
What were those, like 18 micron merino
No, I think those are
Mhm.
19.5.
Rainbow Road.
Okay, so I don't have my reading glasses on and I'm old, so I can't actually read what the tags say anymore.
Rainbow Road, same colors as the first rainbow sock blank as well.
Oh, see, and now you're starting to see some of my yarn stash show up. It's in the back.
It's color coded.
Because my kids are OCD and stuff, so it's all good.
This one's called Delish because it just looks like candy, and it's the forbidden cotton candy, right? And the last one on that base, Autumn Slumber. We have this on
A couple bases.
a couple bases, yeah. We tried to recreate some of Andrea's recipes weren't written down, so we're just like, I wonder what this is.
So we're
Tried
just
to recreate it.
creating new stuff as we go along. It's all good.
All good, all good. And then we just like to play with colors and see what happens. So she was dyeing one day and just had some fun. So this is merino 100-gram braid. It's called Sundance.
It's just so pretty. Love it. And then this one was funny.
She
don't know
dyed
what I
it
was
up and then she's
doing.
like, I don't even know what this looks like, but we ended up calling it 90s curtains.
Because it kind of does look like the curtains we all had in our house in the 80s and the 90s. I'm pretty sure I actually had an outfit in these colors,
Yeah.
but we don't want to admit to that all the way. So we're just going to call it the curtains and call it good.
Here's another rendition of a mermaid. Like I said, we've got it on a lot of bases and yarn as well. but it looks different on every type of fiber. She was doing some fun with like highlighter colors. We have like a highlighter dappled and then a highlighter fade. They're a little bit different, but the same kinds of colors. So those are fun. We just like to play.
And we have the camel.
We have a limited amount of camel left. We sold a lot of it at Prairie Fiber Fest. So we have a little bit left in we can't get any more at the moment from our suppliers. So whatever we bring this weekend will be the last of it.
Until they can ship more camel from Turkey. Because I think that's kind of what the problem is the shipping issues. So we've got some really, really pretty ones. And honestly, again, you just want to just pet it. This is what I do most days. Just sit there and
I got a customer review from the quilt show, and she had commented saying, "Thank you for understanding my need to pet all the fiber."
Because it's
You
true.
have to pet it.
You have to pet it. Onto yarn?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've been playing with yarn too, because now all of a sudden we've got all of this dyeing equipment and these cookers and these pots, and it's so much fun, and it's not in my kitchen. So I'm not scared to, wreck anything because it's meant to be dyed. So
And we ordered the cashmere. So we
ordered
have
cashmere.
at the moment we have 4 colorways on the Morrissey fingering. So we took a couple pictures to use as motivation. So this one was a glass gem corn, super colorful, and there's like yellows and greens and blues and a lot of pink in there.
Oh my gosh, the pink is just like everything.
Matches your shirts.
Oh my goodness.
This one's called Waterfall. Mostly we had a bunch of leftover blues and a bit of purple, so we just like threw it all in the pan and wrote it down so we can do it again.
Possibly. We'll see. I mean,
I posted this one on our Facebook and Instagram today. So a group of jellyfish is called a smack. So we ended up calling this one Smack of Jelly. Our inspiration photo was the jellyfish. And then this is another one of Andrea's colorways that we tried to recreate. It's called Woodland. Just a really nice greens, like a mossy green and a spruce green. Yeah. That's our 20% cashmere. Then we have 4 other colorways on 2 different bases. So we have an organic merino sport and a MCN worsted. It's only regular C, it's not more C.
but I needed the more
10%.
C for some stuff because cashmere is beautiful.
But even 10% cashmere, it's like still cheek soft. So I created a colorway kind of for Halloween. It's called Monster Mash. Fun greens and like a navy speckle in there. This was another of Andrea's that we recreated. There was a recipe for this one, so it's called Autumn Sunset. Just really nice, warm fall colors. This was one that it was in my brain and I just needed to try and see what it would look like on some yarn. So when we were down in Creston, this was the first yarn that I dyed. So we ended up calling it Sea Glass. Can't really. So it's just like a really soft, like over dyed everything in gray. So it just kind of softened up. Well, and it was all pastels to begin with. So it's just a really nice, soft, warm. And then here is the popular mermaid. And once again, it looks completely different on yarn than it does on the fiber.
And there's other yarn that we're going to show you where it looks completely different again.
Yeah, so here is also mermaid, but it's on mohair silk lace. Totally different. But you could knit with them together.
Yeah.
And we also have mohair silk in the autumn sunset.
Which is so soft and fuzzy and lovely.
Okay, last little bit of yarn, kind of. We were just clearing out there was a little bit of a superwash BFL DK weight. So these are on clearance as a bundle. You get all 3. It's basically buy 2, get 1 free. So it's $65 for the three skeins. And it's the last one.
All right. Let's go on to all our fun other fibers. One of the things I loved when I looked at Andrea's business and possibly buying into it was the fact that it wasn't just yarn, and it wasn't just merino, and it wasn't just, this. There is everything. Like, we just got a package from Italy today that has me like so excited because it has cashmere remnants and pearl fiber in it. Yeah, right? Yeah. So that'll be at the Fibre Frolic. We have to package it up, but
yeah. The pearl, it's like it's a byproduct of viscose production. So it feels a lot like viscose, but it's just really cool how it's such a cool fiber. So also milk.
Yeah, we have milk
fiber from milk protein.
Yeah.
It's a very sciencey process, but
but you can.
It's really soft too.
All right. On to what are we going to go through?
Let's talk about
you know what? We forgot. We have more yarn because we have our from knitting kit.
Well, I said sort of.
Okay.
We have one more yarn thing,
but it's awesome. I love this.
So we have thrum mitten kits. So if you don't know what thrumming is, you just like take a hunk of fiber and wrap it in with your knitting, and then on the inside, the more you wear your mitts, it felts and creates like a really nice, warm, cohesive liner in the mitten, and on the outside it just looks like a really fun pop of color. So most of our kits have a color of yarn and then 2 colors of merino to like stripe or whatever you want to do, but we made some fun ones that actually have 6 colors, so you get like a rainbow of thrums. So yeah, we had a lot of fun making those.
Yeah.
Might have to just keep one to work it up to see what it looks like.
Or we could just make another one. I mean, we do have the ability to, we have to buy more yarn. So we're running we're only at 10 minutes left-ish. But
yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have ever played with heat fusible Angelina. It's really going to be hard to see because it's super freaking sparkly.
It's all sparkle.
It's all sparkle. But this is the stuff that you can iron between 2 parchment papers and have fabric. It's so cool. It's so much fun. And so we have it in like, I think 6 different colors, five different, sorry, my bad. We have it in 5 different colors. But it is the most fun
you can
play with.
Felt with it. At the quilt show, I met a couple people that actually quilt with it.
Yeah.
Once it's in a fabric.
Put it into their quilts and stuff too. And then we have all sorts of different we've got tencel in like a million different colors. We've got sari silk roving. We've got mulberry silk in, again, a myriad of colors. And what is that?
Bamboo.
That's bamboo. And then we've got some more Firestar. And one of the fun things is we get these little packs of all different colors. So if you're not really sure, just buy Fibre. And then we have our magical mix-ins, which are super fun. Andrea was a genius when she thought this up.
A little bit of everything, sparkly bits and chunky bits and whatever you want to throw into your felting or your spinning or your weaving.
Yeah. So the magical mix-ins are a blast. And we've got some locks.
Long locks.
Yeah, right. You just want to
just want to, yeah.
Just
I did have a couple ladies buy this for doll hair, which is awesome. And Andrea is a ceramic artist and she makes like ladies' faces and uses the locks as the hair, and they look gorgeous. Let's talk about these super quick. So my sister, we just watched Dan's video before us there, and they were talking about ice dyeing. So my sister has actually been doing some ice dyeing with fabric.
And she did this too.
Yes,
it's my t-shirt.
So she does, yeah, shibori ice dyeing. These are fat quarters for quilters, sewists, like anybody who uses fabric, because we don't stick to one fiber art, obviously, as we said before.
We just can't.
It's
not in our blood.
We quilt. So yeah, she's got 3 colors at the moment, but we're going to work on some more in the coming weeks. This one here is called Secrets of Atlantis. And like Dan said too, it just makes like such a cool like watercolor effect. We can unfold some for you. This is Primary Play. This was her first one, just had fun with like the primary colors. There's the.
It almost looks like there's like butterflies or something in there.
Mhm.
Yeah. So these are going to be really hard to go to market because I keep looking at them in the stash going, I do have a quilting retreat coming up that I need to, have some fabric for, and they might just disappear. Who knows?
I only got sorry to interrupt you. I only got confirmation like yesterday, I think, that the Edmonton Modern Quilting Guild is going to come and do a demonstration like
Awesome.
over the weekend.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can do this fabric, just depending on how you fold it and how you lay out your die. And
yeah, it's so fun.
She's been having a lot of fun with that. And yeah, once she gets a little more practice, she'll start doing shirts for sale as well. We just have shirts for us to wear.
We're just playing with it right now.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, I really like that one. That one's mine.
Some good like thrift store finds to play with. And
so we'll do the.
Okay. Super fun tool for felters is a ball browser or a sprinkler. So it keeps your hand from cramping up from like using a spray bottle, and also the dripping of the water keeps your fiber from like sloshing around when you're if you have it all just like laid out nice exactly how you want it. And we just got these in today from the shipment from Italy, so they're super cute. We got like a little frog, little ducky.
Yeah, and for some reason these were back ordered. Like you couldn't get these for a few months.
Whale.
So when I went on the website and saw these, I was like, I'm just going to order a few of every color because they're super cute.
Yeah, so we've been out of stock for a little while, but now we have
more stock.
Yeah.
And we also do our Magic Craft dealer now. So we've got like our hand carters for Magic Craft.
Super like high quality handmade in New Zealand.
Just beautiful.
Fiber preparation and
beautiful
processing.
And I have a Susie wheel for Magic Craft, and I've spun on all different kinds of wheels. I love this wheel. I can do anything on it. I love it. And their bobbins are super cute too.
They got lots of different colors. They just came out with a clear one.
And their knitty knotty is so cool because it's actually screwed in. So I know like with the Ashford knitty knotties and stuff, you have to put fiber in it and shove it down, and hopefully it doesn't pop off or spin while you're doing your yarn. So I really like that. And we have one more blending board in stock. So if you're into blending, we have one that will be at the Fibre Frolic to buy, and it is amazing. And
smaller investment than like a drum carder.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just start out trying to blend
see if you like to blend it and stuff like that. So the other thing, our special for Edmonton Fibre Frolic is we do fiber boxes, a subscription every month. And so we're offering the subscriptions from January
to October.
All
the past months from this year
for $50.
So they're usually $58 plus $10 shipping. But if you order it for pickup at Edmonton Fibre Frolic this week, it'll be $50, and then you pick it up at the show or anything else you want.
We'll have some there to buy.
Yeah, we usually bring a couple of each month to the shows. But yeah, if you want to pre-order, they're on sale as of today at the $50, and then yeah, just select local pickup and we'll bring it to the show for you. And we have a special Fibre Frolic exclusive sneak peek of November's colorway, so it'll be shipping out next Tuesday. So nobody has seen it yet, but we called it
Dreaming of Spring.
Because
we just got 3 feet of snow, and I am dreaming of spring already.
Yeah, so we got this super fun merino braid in there.
Yeah, I'll be Vanna.
We put in 2 different colors of mulberry silk, 2 shades of pink.
Some gorgeous like kettle dyed teaswater locks. It's more of that heat that Angelina, because it's just some magical stuff. And then we have there's this technique from
Irene Vanderwolf in Netherlands.
Yeah,
she's from the Netherlands.
She's Dutch, and she has this technique called upwolfing. So it's a felting technique, and she has these little foam. Well, these are the little ones, but there's like big mats you can get. So they have holes in them, and you use like a chopstick to shove your fiber through, and then you can make like all kinds of designs. So these are just little flowers. So you can add like little felted flower embellishments to your felting. But you can pretty much make whatever you want. So we have big mats, and she's done like words or like borders. So we included some little flowers in this month's kit.
So yeah, I've seen she has a YouTube video where she's done a whole like silk shawl with these little flowers and it's freaking beautiful. Like it's just gorgeous. But the cool thing with the upwolfing is if you have multicolors of fiber that you stuff, like you roll it and stuff it in there, once it's all felted, you can cut them and then you get a totally different look. Like it is just
like a pom-pom.
It's just so cool. Like it is just one of the wildest things. I mean, it's true in the fiber arts. It doesn't matter. There's anything you can think of, you know. It's one of those things where there is no limit to the creativity that can come out of people involved in the fiber world. So we're just happy to be a part of it now. Heavily invested in.
That is amazing. Wow. Thank you so much. I had a question for you, and now I can't remember. It was an important question too. So people, if they're wanting to pre-order and pick up at the Fibre Frolic, do they need to enter like a code or something?
Nope, it's they're all on sale, and if they just say local pickup, we'll bring everything to the show.
Yeah, so onto the delivery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so instead of like don't pay for shipping, just select local delivery or pickup.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm really excited about those fat quarters. I want to see more of those.
Right? I love them. That poor girl's gonna have to be making them meat just for me. I need a king size quilt out of this, hun. Get dying.
Oh, I know what the important question was. The spinning wheels. Are you going to have a spinning wheel or selection of spinning wheels for people to try out?
We have one on the way, but we do have one with us. So it's the same one we had at Prairie. It's the Susie. So we will be spinning on that all day.
Yeah, and people can, I mean, it's not like we don't have a lot of fiber or anything like that they can try.
Yeah, they can try it out.
It's
Okay.
But yeah, I know we had a few people trying out the Susie at Prairie Fiber Festival, and for sure, if they want to sit down and try it, absolutely. We have another one that's coming. Shipping is slow. We
might have it for Creekside.
Yeah, we might have it in the new year, but it's coming. We have another spinning wheel, a little gem.
It's their portable
version. Wheel.
So it comes completely apart, has a little carrying case. It's like super tiny when it's all put away.
And I was hoping that the Turkish spindles would be here for this show, but they have not shown up from New Zealand yet either. So
okay.
It is what it is.
Okay. Was just asking because Ilana was talking yesterday about the Learn to Spin class, and we were talking about who would have wheels on the floor. So we were talking about Erin having the Spin Illusion at Lily and Pine and Joe's Yarn Garden. And then because I hadn't even thought about you guys. So you'll have the Magic Craft. So that's awesome to know.
Yeah, we will. It'll be there. I'm not sure what we're spinning up, but we'll find something.
No, that's perfect. Okay. So I want to be mindful because I see Davita over there. It's 11 o'clock over on the East Coast, and Davita's.
Oh, honey.
Davita is fading. It's actually, my body is saying that it's 12 o'clock because.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the clock in here that we're looking at for timing our trunk show says 10 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it feels
it's
like.
Like the car clock. You don't change it. You just
exactly. My body is like, okay, this is cute. Is you done?
Need to go to bed.
Me
It
too.
was
Yeah.
awesome though. I so wish that I could be there to feel all that squishy fiber you have and see all those beautiful colors. So I hope that all the attendees stop by your booth and buy.
Thank you. I hope they do too, because it's so dangerous having this 10 feet away from me. Because I'm like, well,
You want to
Hop
use
down
it
to the
all.
garage and grab
I'm
something.
gonna go to the studio and see what I need. Yeah, like my Stephen West MCal that I'm not even. I think I'm in clue 2, but I dyed all the yarn for it. I was like, these are the colors I want.
Me too.
Look, we have a dye studio.
Our colorways
Dye-
are completely different. So hers is like a chocolate brown, like a beige, and a turquoise. And mine is like highlighter pink, highlighter yellow, highlighter orange.
She's got a big bird thing going on with the
Yeah, with the pink
stripes.
and orange stripes. Looks like
It's
Big
pretty
Bird's
cool.
leg.
So
Yeah, I'm
fun,
almost
though.
done. I'm on my last section.
Nice.
That's
Good for you.
awesome. Bring them.
Yeah,
There's gonna
I'll
be
wear it.
prizes and stuff at the Gathering Threads Lounge for.
Yeah,
the
she'll be
MCAL.
done hers by then. I will not be done mine by then. There is no way.
Doesn't matter. Bring the whip. It'll be fun. So, okay, you guys, thank you so much. This has been
Thank
so fun.
you.
Thanks. Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
again.
everybody on YouTube. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
Bye.